Well, that's good.
So now we're moving on to the hip. So I know we talked about hip structural hip components last week as far as like being like in relation to the squat on how
Yeah.
people squat depending on their structural build. Now we're moving on to hip pain. Now there's different ways that you can have or different mechanisms of injury in different parts of the hip. We'll cover a few today, depending on where you're having pain, right, and how you cause it. So you can either have hip pain through trauma or atraumatic, meaning it just starts coming on its own, right, and that can be more due to like repetitive use or overuse and movements that might not be supported structurally, either by your muscle length or strength, meaning too much tightness or too much weakness on certain muscles that eventually those movements that you're doing are causing pain, right? That's atraumatic. And traumatic meaning you directly hit yourself. Okay, so one of the places, and I don't have a model, but we'll go over a few things. I'll do some stand up. So the bursa will lie right over here, which a lot of times it's known that you can, when you injure the bursa, it's known as bursitis, which you can injure through a traumatic hit. More likely like dealing with athletes, right? If you're a football player, you get hit on the side, uh, from a helmet or a shoulder pad contact on the bursa, or a lot of times it could come from irritation from the IT band, depending on how you're walking or depending on your movements, on your squatting. The repetitive strumming over the bursa can cause an inflammation to the area too. So the repetitive movement of irritating the bursa right on the side of the hip, which is the atraumatic part, and the traumatic being where you get directly hit. Two different ways to injure the person have bursitis, right? One is repetitive use. So the repetitive use, the fix for that is finding out how you're causing it, whether it be, will depend on the movement. More than likely, it's like could be the way that you're walking and causing stress on it, and then working on the muscular imbalances, whether it's stretching certain muscles like your hip flexors or your IT band. Well, not stretching the IT band, but working on the soft tissues that connect the IT band from the hip to the knee. Uh, Stretching muscles out and strengthening muscles that need to be strengthened, right? This is where it's important to have someone that is a healthcare professional, physical therapist, help you out with that. Then the second way, if you have a direct hit to the area, the bursa, since we're talking about that, letting inflammation take its course, about 2 to 3 days, maybe 4 days of waiting it out and seeing the pain go down slowly, right? Because once you have inflammation, it'll take its course of getting protecting the area and then the swelling going down, as long as you don't overuse the area, you don't put a lot of stress on the area when it's inflamed. And then if you have inflammation, never use heat. I've had plenty of patients come in and say that they've used heat over it to make it feel better. Don't use heat with inflammation.
No use heat.
Yeah. So don't use heat over it.
Doesn't that cause more blood flow and
further
further
you're increasing
irritation?
the blood flow to the area when you already have increased blood flow to the area.
Yeah, okay.
So don't do that.
So don't, no.
Yes.
No heat.
No heat on the area. So that's more talking about the bursa. Now, if you're talking about arthritic changes of the hip, there's a lot of ways that can be caused, right? And a lot of fixes, and we can probably go into that next time because that's another video for itself. But in general, with hip arthritis, depending on the issue, if it's something that can be helped, what you can do is the same as you would for any other joint impairment. Work on the stiffness, on the stiff muscles, and stretching the stiff muscles and the soft tissue for those muscles, and then strengthening the weak muscles, right? So that's been shown to be the best solution for hip arthritis is to do manual therapy, meaning having a trained professional work on the joint itself through mobilization or manipulation, then stretching the muscles and then strengthening the muscles, right? Strengthening the muscles need to be strengthened and stretching what needs to be stretched. Bursitis is an example of a traumatic or atraumatic injury to the area. All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right,
Covered.
that's it. So you can find us on eliteathlete.online or
Yes.
woofpack.store. You can ask us your questions on eliteathlete.online, and then under the contact section, there's a section for LeijaLift, or there's a section for Elite Athlete as well. If you have any questions for your health needs, as diet and then physical health. Okay. That's it for LeijaLift. You can also find us, not yet. You can also find us on the Instagrams, on the Instagrams, where we post all these videos leading up to the new video on Juan LeijaLift _
and Victor Leija _.
All right, and then on TikTok, I'll put up some of those videos too.
Yeah.
So you can check that out on TikTok too. All right, that's it for us today. Esto por hoy. Dale. All right.